All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and we have some breaking news to get to. We've been waiting a couple of days for this update, and the NFL has finally made a decision on Eagles star defensive tackle Jalen Carter and his status going into this Week 2 matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter breaking the news just moments ago that Carter, after spitting on Dak Prescott opening night, in front of the entire world, in a game that kicked off the 2025 NFL season, will not be suspended for this Week 2 Super Bowl rematch. Instead, he's going to get a hefty fine. Here's the tweet from Schefter. It reads as such, that the NFL is fining Jalen Carter $57,222 for spitting on Dak. The league also says the game he was ejected for, the Cowboys game, because that incident happened before a play had even been run from scrimmage, will serve as the one-game suspension. Quote from Drew Rosenhaus, Carter's agent, after talking to the Eagles, the NFL, and the NFL Players Association, Jalen has decided not to appeal and focus on the Chiefs game. More from Schefty. The Eagles and Drew Rosenhaus also worked on an agreement that the team will not use the suspension to void guarantees in Carter's deal or seek signing bonus payment forfeiture. Carter, of note, makes $57,222 per week. So this is a game check that the league is docking Jalen Carter. And I think it's a good play for Carter, given the ugly nature of his actions, absolutely inexcusable, that he's not trying to appeal this. Take the fine, move on, and get better from it. The NFL is also looking at the ejection of the Cowboys game as the suspension. I think that's the right move. If they suspended him an additional game, and I understand they want to hone in on and focus on sportsmanship, they don't want the image of the league to be damaged, I think that would have been a little bit excessive. Here is the writing from the NFL via a statement here. Jalen Carter of the Eagles has been suspended without pay for one game for his act of unsportsmanlike conduct in last Thursday's game against the Dallas Cowboys. Because Carter was disqualified before participating in a single play, the suspension is considered to have been served in Week 1, and he will forfeit his game check. The NFL Players Association has informed the NFL that Carter will not contest the discipline and has waived his right to appeal. He is eligible to participate in the club's Week 2 game against the Chiefs. League rules prohibiting unsportsmanlike conduct are of vital importance to everyone involved in the game. The NFL has been clear with players, clubs, and the NFLPA that it plans to place particular emphasis on sportsmanship this season. My take on this is the right decision from the NFL. This is the right decision from Jalen Carter. Obviously, he got some good advice from Drew Rosenhaus. An additional game suspending Carter on top of him pretty much getting suspended for that Cowboys game would have been a little bit too much. And I know a lot of other fans outside of Philadelphia and people who hate on the city of brotherly love and the Eagles wanted the NFL to come down hard on Carter. The suspension and the fine fits the crime. And anybody who wanted Carter to get docked an additional game, you're just a hater at this point. And look, I'm being real about this. I'm not excusing what Jalen Carter did. It was idiotic. It was immature. He needs to be much more in check with his emotions, and he needs to be more emotionally mature. It is absolutely idiotic what he did. There's no place for it anywhere. On the street, inside the lines of an NFL game, he didn't think. And he deserves what came for him. And a lot of the character concerns that he had coming out of Georgia, they amplified and they returned and they resurfaced once again. He brought that onto himself. But context, as I always say, is very important. And when Jalen Carter and this video here to my right first surfaced of him spitting on Dak first came out on the NBC broadcast, you're thinking, Jalen Carter, what are you doing? Before the game even starts, you're spitting on Dak unprovoked. But he was provoked by Dak Prescott. And during the weather delay, after the NBC broadcast team went through all of the Zapruder film, they found that Dak was the one who spit first. And I know a lot of people have said, Carter spit on Dak. Dak did not spit on him. Dak spit on the ground. It's completely different. Well, no shit. Obviously, that's obvious, but it's not like Dak Prescott is a choir boy. When is it ever normal to make eye contact with a person, go in between two offensive linemen, spit on the ground toward Jalen Carter, look up at him and say, yeah, while nodding his head. And then after that, they got in each other's face. So it's not like Dak is good old two shoes here and he's some choir boy who's innocent. He tried to make it out to be that way in his post-game press conference, acting surprised with everything that transpired. Dak, you know exactly what you did. You spit first. Jalen Carter then returned spit. We had Spitgate. Was it something that Jalen Carter should have done? No, but Dak also started the entire incident. And if the NFL never saw the video of Dak spitting first, I actually do think Jalen Carter would have been suspended for week 2 Eagles-Chiefs. Now, Carter going to be available to play against Kansas City. Obviously, this is huge for this Eagles defense. We will see, though, if the team and the Eagles will penalize him. Today, Nick Sirianni declined to say whether or not the Eagles would take action. Wouldn't surprise me if he's out for a series or a quarter, but they understand how big this game is going up against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes in front of a national audience, and they're trying to dominate Kansas City again like they did back in February, partially led by Carter when they hoisted that second Lombardi trophy and had an epic parade down Broad Street. Jalen Carter is one of the best players in all of football, ladies and gentlemen, and when he went out against the Dallas Cowboys, it changed their entire game plan. Dak said as much. And they went right after the Carterless Eagles defensive line. Now, I think Jordan Davis played the game of his career. Byron Young played really well. So too did Moro Ajomo. But those players are not Jalen Carter. There's a reason why he has an opportunity to be this generation's Aaron Donald or Ndamukong Suh. He can go down as a Hall of Famer, one of the best Eagles defenders of all time, and one of the most disruptive forces on the defensive side of the rock in NFL history if he keeps his head on straight. And this whole Spitgate situation, it's a little bit of a step back for him, and the Eagles obviously dealing with that internally. But Carter last year was so special. Carter in that playoff run. Eagles don't win the Super Bowl without him. Number 1 last year among defensive tackles and snaps. So he's been really durable. 3rd in pressure rate, 4th in pass rush win rate, tied for 3rd in sacks, 2nd in quarterback hits at the position, 2nd in hurries, 1st in batted passes, 1st in forced fumbles, 3rd in run stop win rate, and number 1 in TFLs. And look at what the Cowboys accomplished without Jalen Carter on the field. They had a lot of success running the ball. 22 carries, a $119, 5.4 yards per carry. Javonte Williams, who looked washed, ran for 2 touchdowns. He looked good. Miles Sanders, outside of the fumble, former Eagle, had that long run. It doesn't happen, I'm telling you, if Jalen Carter is on the field. More to get to here on the show, but let me pause to just remind you to go on down, spit on that thing, and hit that subscribe button here on Philadelphia Eagles Now for elite daily coverage of the Birds. We're closing in on 127,000 subscribers. Hop on board this momentous train right now. Also, a programming reminder. I did preview this Eagles-Chiefs game earlier today. The video is popping. If you want the most thorough preview from the Eagles sideline and point of view, or bird's eye view, if you will, that you'll find here on the internet, go check that video out. It's up on the channel. Let me also pause to give a shout out to our sponsor, Chubbies, for powering today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. We really appreciate them for sponsoring us here during the 2025 NFL season. And now that the season is here, you know what that means? Fall is quickly approaching. The leaves are turning. The temperatures are dropping. The weekend air getting that nice autumn crisp. Just because the weather is changing, though, doesn't mean you have to pack away the fun. And Chubbies has a bunch of fun gear to enhance your fall wardrobe. Soft, stretchy, fall-ready staples. They are built for maximum comfort and minimal effort. We're talking about the Chubbies Original Stretch Shorts, the Classic Line Swim Trunks, all of their performance polos. A lot of you like the Eagles Chubbies polos that I've been wearing here on the show. You can get those. And how about this? Get $10 off on all of their gear by going to chubbyshorts.com/chatsports and be sure to use the code chatsports as well. And what I like about what Chubbies has to offer, the polos, they have a structured collar. It stays sharp. Their clothing items, 4-way stretch comfort. It's breathable, moisture-wicking fabric. The polo especially keeps you cool, looking pulled together. If you want to sit by the pool, go out on a date, hit the golf course, host shows here at Chat Sports, rock some Chubbies gear. Plus, wrinkle resistant, which is perfect because, let's be honest, you aren't going to iron it anyway. So whether you're layering up for tailgates outside of the link, lounging through lazy Sundays, or just leaning fully into fall comfort, Chubbies has you covered. Limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners, our viewers, $10 off the order if you use the code ChatSports at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. That's code ChatSports. Using that link down below, support the show with Chubbies. All right, what I want to do now is quickly go through my keys to the game for the Eagles to pull out a victory against Kansas City. That would push Philadelphia to 2-0 and drop the Chiefs to 0-2. And a lot of this has to do with the availability of Jalen Carter. So pass rush discipline against Mahomes. Because the Chiefs are talent deficient, they don't have a lot of high-octane options on the offensive side of the ball, and they're without their top 2 wideouts, Xavier Worthy, separated shoulder, Rashee Rice, suspension. Mahomes feels the urge to make things happen by himself. And sometimes when you're defending Patrick Mahomes, you can be buttoned up at the second and third level. Your coverage can be pristine. You can even generate a pass rush on Patrick Mahomes. But if you don't have disciplined pass rush lanes, and if you don't set the edge, and sometimes if you don't have a spy, he can burn you with his feet, with his improvisational playmaking ability, and he's a really underrated athlete who can move the chains. And when that happens, after you do everything right, you become deflated as a defense. We saw it in Super Bowl 57 when the Chiefs came back against the Birds. And in Week 1 against the Chargers in Brazil, we know that Mahomes has arm strength, and sometimes he can make these off-platform throws, which will make you say, wow. And he did that in that game, right? 24-39, 258 yards, but he also burned the Chargers time and time again with his feet. 6 carries, 57 yards. And like the Eagles did against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59, you have to have pass rush lane discipline and pass rush integrity. Key to the game number 2, Eagles are going to have to stop the run. And it's not just Patrick Mahomes. But when the Chiefs have success on the ground, it opens up play action. It opens up the shots downfield. Also, though, it allows Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to eat up clock, possess the football, and keep the Eagles' offense on the sideline. Offensive football is predicated on rhythm and flow. And when you don't get many opportunities to have a lot of drives in a game and your offense grows stale on the sideline, it impacts that type of synergy. The Chiefs against the Chargers as a team, 17 carries, 98 yards, 5.8 yards per carry and a touchdown. I showed you the numbers earlier with what the Cowboys did against the Eagles running the ball. They average about 5.5 yards per carry. Can't happen against Kansas City. Offensively for Philadelphia, key to the game number 3, you got to get the pass game going. And I thought Philadelphia in that Week 1 game against Dallas had become too Jalen Hurts reliant. Now, I understand that sometimes Hurts doesn't trust what he sees and he comes off his reads and he comes off his progressions, but it's not like guys were just running wide open. And so I think the concepts, the play designs, and the scheme can be a little bit better. Hurts so often against Dallas bailed the offense out with his feet. You know what Kansas City's going to do after watching the tape. Unlike Matt Eberflus, they will have a quarterback spy. They do not want to let Jalen Hurts beat them, and they'll force Philadelphia to test them through the air and with the ground. Now, again, can Hurts pull the trigger a little bit quicker at times? Yes, he can. But I also want better concepts, better play calls, and play designs from Kevin Patullo because this can't happen again. A.J. Brown, I know it was a clutch grab, but 1 target, 1 catch, 8 yards, not sustainable. Devontae Smith, 3 catches for 16. They're too good to be limited to that. Dallas Goedert, he was awesome in that game against the Cowboys, but a lot of that on checkdowns because nothing really was open downfield. And then Jahan Dotson, love to see that 51-yard long ball, but he had 3 catches for 59 and 51 came on that single play. This is something sneakily important that I think the Eagles need to emphasize here. Running out of 11 personnel. And we'll keep an eye on what personnel packages the Eagles use to their advantage and what they employ in this game against Kansas City. 14 carries for 30 yards for Saquon Barkley out of 12 and 13 personnel week 1, but 30 of those yards came on a 16-yard misdirection toss. So outside of that, that's 13 carries for 14 yards. Not good. When the Eagles ran out of 11 personnel with Saquon, 4 carries for 30 yards. That big Will Shipley play, and he's going to be out for a little while, that came on 11 personnel on that little screen pass. And so the Eagles had a lot of success with that personnel group, not so much 12 and 13 personnel, because their number 2 tight end, Grant Calcaterra, isn't a great blocker. Key to the game number 5. Again, this is really where Jalen Carter comes into play. Put Patrick Mahomes under duress and under siege. The Eagles in Super Bowl 59, they confused Mahomes. Him and Andy Reid, they were confounded, and that forced Mahomes into a lot of mistakes. The Eagles baited him at times, and they just swarmed Mahomes and dominated that Chiefs offensive line en route to, with 0 blitzes, I might add, 16 pressures, 11 quarterback hits, and 6 sacks. Going into Super Bowl 59, I had my formula for how the Eagles could beat Mahomes, because a lot of teams haven't been able to do that in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs. It was all put out there by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 55 during the 2020 season, when the Bucs set a Super Bowl record for the most pressures on a quarterback with 29. They sacked Mahomes 3 times, and they had a pressure rate of 52%. The Eagles didn't have as many pressures. They did have double the sacks that the Bucs had, but the formula was simple. The Eagles didn't blitz at all. The Bucs blitzed very rarely. Mahomes had an awful game against Tampa Bay, an awful game against Philadelphia, and against the Eagles, 3 turnovers, and the Eagles won the turnover battle 3-1. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram for more Eagles coverage. I'm reaching millions of people every single month here on YouTube and doing the same over there.